Towers from ESS BizTools. Welcome to this webinar presentation. Whereby we are going to do a tour of the new ESS BizTools website. So I'll just go on to the material so that we can get started. So when you first go to the ESS BizTools site, you can go in and check out the non-subscribers area, which has got material on the individual products. But we're going to go through to the members area so that you can check out the system. The first area I want to go to on the members area is the sections and papers. We're not going to spend much time here because they are basically the same as the previous website. So the individual sections are there, and to obtain what's in a section, all you need to do is to click on the section heading, and then you will be presented a list of names. You click on one of those, you get a executive summary of what that paper's about. You can then download, and once the download's completed, open and then click on the paper. There's a paper on corporate governance. You can badge this paper as yours with your name and contact details on it, and it's able to be sent to your clients or prospects. You can charge for papers if you wish. There's no additional fee payable to ESS BizTools, and there's PowerPoint slides for each of those papers. Which you can utilize. You can put your logo onto those if you wish, so that you're able to utilize the material with presentations to clients or whoever you like. I'll just quickly take you through, though, to the series that starts after 500, because these are the papers. So in sections 500, 501, 502, 550, 570, these are articles that we have written. specifically targeted at accountants. So there's individual papers there. The system works exactly the same. If you want to look at one, you click on the name, then you can receive both the paper and the PowerPoint slides that go with that paper. So that's a quick overview of sections and papers. We'll then now move into client seminars, webinars. There's 35 seminars that you could also present as webinars in the system. Just a reminder that the seminars numbered under 1,000 are for various presentation times, and those times and number of suggested sessions are in brackets at the end of the name of the seminar. The seminars that are badged as CS 1000 onwards are 1 hour seminars. So we'll pick on one of the 1 hour seminars, the profit making seminar. Just click on the material. There is some organizational material which you can work your way through. Please don't forget that this material is there. And you just click onto any item and it will bring this up for you. And then we have the actual presentation material for this particular seminar. So there are 3 papers that are going to be discussed, and there's 3 lots of PowerPoint slides that are available. So hopefully that's okay. If you have any questions during the webinar, can you please type in your question and send it through to me, and I will answer the questions during the session. I've just checked, there's no questions yet. So if you do think of any questions that you'd like answered, please send them through to me. The next item that I want to just go to is client mentoring and coaching. This section was introduced to assist you to inform your clients on the type of services that you're able to offer to them. So if you like, it's an education package for your clients. You can charge for these packages if you wish, or you can utilize this as a marketing tool within your firm. So if you have someone who's talking about starting a business, purchasing or commencing a business, there are 6 series here, so each series is self-contained. So in the first series, when we click on, we've got material that is ready to go to the client. It would be sent to your client. And then about a few days later, someone should ring the client to check how they're going. Were they happy with the material? Did they understand it? There's a letter within each series. I'll open that for you now. You could place this letter on letterhead if you wished, or include it in an email. It tells the client what you're doing, and hopefully they get some real benefit from that material. There's also a survey form in each series, because it's very important you get some feedback from your client. And this is the form that whoever makes the telephone call should be referring to. Please badge this before you send it to your client. And we're trying to ascertain from them whether they found that information helpful. If you get people answering least helpful in questions 4 and 5, please send me an email so that we know, because it obviously means we're going to do something about some of the material. And what we're trying to get is feedback from your client as to what they might like explain to them. There might be some additional services that they're now interested in talking to you about, because unashamedly, this material has been collated on the basis of helping you to market your willingness to undertake a range of commercial services beyond compliance work. So hopefully that form will assist in getting feedback from your client. And then this is the material that is going to the client. And the mail-out system will send that as one package to your clients. The next item I want to refer to is Members Alert. This is a new innovation in placing the Members Alert in the members area of our website. We produce Members Alert at basically the same time we produce Business Plus newsletter each month, and we send that to every subscriber. And if you like to give us the email addresses of all of your team, they will all then receive the Members Alert. So in this month, we've talked about Corporate Governance Network, which has now been deferred under the 25th of July. We had a couple of technical issues, and we could also do with some more registrations. So if you know of any clients who are interested in having a better understanding of their role as a director or a committee member in a not-for-profit charity or sporting organisation, I'd appreciate it if you could refer them to this event. If they want more details, please go to esssmallbusiness.com.au and click on Corporate Governance Network. We've talked about differentiating your firm, mentoring sessions, and this is the first one of these sessions. On the 10th of July, we're going to have a detailed overview of ESS Biz Grants. And then after that, we're going to be going through some of the real services. In August, getting ready to deliver new services to clients and so on. We've also been taking the opportunity of giving our subscribers a walk through ESS BIZTOOLS, discussing the various components. And in the month of June, we looked at the Business Plus newsletter. We also mentioned a workshop being conducted by a good friend of ESS BIZTOOLS, Andrew Geddes, which is being presented on the 2nd and 3rd of August, and the details are there for you to read. We gave an overview of what was in the Business Plus June issue, and also the end-of-year tax planning issue, and the monthly update of government grant application deadlines is also included. So that was the material for this month within Members Alert. Please read it. Please give us feedback if there's some additional information or articles that you think we should be writing on any issue to do with commercial services that you want to present to your clients, because we see ourselves as being the promotional arm of your business. We're writing the material, but we want to make sure that you're happy with it and yet you're using it. So if you think of something else that you think we should have, please let us know. The new material we're working on at present is the research and development package, which we are launching on September 1. And that will be followed in early December with the export product package that we're producing. Now we'll move into the product packages. The first one I want to go to is the Business Plus newsletter, because it's a little bit different to the others, and then we can look at the others. And obviously subscription levels start coming into play now. Gold and silver have got access to virtually everything, but if you're a bronze or a special purpose subscriber, you will only have access to what you have subscribed for. And what I'm bringing up first of all is the end of year tax planning Business Plus, which was uploaded yesterday. Our apologies, we are running a little bit late this month with the uploading of that document, but it's there now. You can use it. Please badge it and send it to your clients. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, please type them into the system and send them through to me, and I will answer them to the best of my ability a little bit later in the webinar. So this is the end of year tax planning Business Plus. It's in your system. You can go there and download it and badge it and send it to your clients. There's also an update of the paper, which we call End of Year Tax Planning Checklist. We update this every year, the name of that paper. So now it's 2018. And there's a full paper with some more explanation as to some of the items that are mentioned in the Business Plus article. These comments are basically directed at taxation as it affects SMEs. So that's the, and then if we just have a look at if ever you're looking for a past article, they're all here, as you can see, back to 94. If you want something that we published earlier than that, please send us an email and we will find it from the archives. This was the June newsletter. So we'll just go into that. So the newsletter is working the same way as it did on the previous website. When you receive this, you can remove the ESS BIZTOOLS badging and insert your own. If you believe that we should be writing articles about other items, please send me an email and give me an overview of what the article would be about, and we'll have a look at writing articles on different subjects. Some months we have to rack our brains to think about what an article might be to be included. We've given you a plug for budgets for 2018-19. Hopefully some of your clients will respond. Just remember, the Attention Accountants material is there to act more as a reference library for you, so that you're aware that there's some additional material within ESS BIZTOOLS on a particular subject that's been discussed in the newsletter. Our recommendation is you remove the Attention Accountants material before you send this email to your clients, and that you substitute that space with a comment about your firm, some of your employees, maybe clients, what they're doing, that people might find of interest. So that's Business Plus. So what I'm now going to go is to work through the product packages. Now there's 23 of those. We're not going to work through 23 of them unless we really get a move on. So the first one I'm going to is budgets and cash flow forecasts. we can go to the procedure control form and open this. Each of the product packages has a procedure control form to guide you through working through the material. And in this package, we have specific worksheets prepared, spreadsheets prepared for calculations relative to professional firms, trades and subcontractors, and retail stores. So the format of the material contained within a product package is the same as what it was on the previous website. So what I might do is go from there, and we will go back to I want to show you a couple of the forms here. So if we go to setting trades and charge out rates, if you've got clients who are running trades businesses and you ask them how they've calculated their charge out rates, sometimes you'll get some very funny answers, like that's what my competitors charge. This process was developed because we had some queries from people running businesses as to how they should go about it. So we've developed a calculator. The first area we start with is on cost. So it's the calculation of labour on cost. We've grouped it into about 16 separate classifications, which enables you to put people who have got similar treatments when it comes to working hours and superannuation rates and any sort of loadings, etc., to be together so that the system will treat them. And there's provision for 6 people in each classification. So this is, first of all, full-time permanent employees, and you can then show what annual leave, etc., they've got. So if they've got 20 days, you just enter the 20. If they are getting a shift worker's allowance, you just put in 5 days, and so on. The system will then go through and calculate the various information relative to the on-cost percentage, and will reflect those figures within the labour budget. So there's A2, which is a different type of employee than A3. And then we move into A4, which is looking at permanent full-time employees again. And then we go into classification B, which is permanent part-time employees. And then we go into C, which is looking at casual staff. So if you put that information in, the on costs will be calculated. A lot of people forget their on costs, or they calculate their budgets on the basis they're going to get employees 52 weeks of the year, 38 and a half hours, something like 2,002 working hours, where in actual fact, their actual working hours are probably only going to be around 1,500, 1,600. And then it could be a figure of any type of percentage, 50, 60, 70, 80, even 90, and in very rare cases, 100%. The information can then be transferred into the labour budget, and a lot of this will automatically be transferred, this information. these costs so that some calculations can start getting made as they contributed to the costs of operating, and therefore the amount to be included as the charge out rates. We've got provision for you to insert the budgeted overhead expenses. This is a trades business, so we can have budgeted materials markup. They're going to purchase $1 million worth of products during the year for their clients. They're going to mark them up by 15%, so that would be an extra $150,000. You can make provision for write-down percentage. You have to insert the percentage. And then we look at the targeted income from sale of labour, which is obviously going to be the labour costs, the targeted net profit, the overhead expenses, less the budgeted materials markup. So that will give us an amount of labour to be recovered. The system will then calculate the base time cost. The business overhead factor will then be calculated, and the system will then go through and calculate the charge out rates that are correct on a mathematical basis, and they're correct as long as everything works. The working hours are the same as we've got in the system. The productivity percentage is the same. The payroll cost is the same. The overhead expense is the same. The markup that's been occurred is the same, so that we can then determine charge out rates. There will be a proof calculation, and then we've got a budgeted profitability, where everything should come back to the business achieving approximately the targeted figure. I've still got no questions. If you can think of any questions that you want answered, please contact me. So that's how the calculation works for trades. It's very similar to professional fees, except we've got no markup figure from the purchase of products. There's also a separate one for retail prices. This is a little bit different because obviously we're buying various ranges of stock. And I'll just give you an overview. Then I would invite you to have a good look at this and then sit down and think about the clients you might be able to utilize it with. The on-cost calculation is exactly the same as the previous one, as is the calculation of the labour budget. It's all got to get transferred. We've got to look at the overhead expenses and then the financial analysis. First of all, the calculation of return on investment, then determining the projected gross profit, and then the gross profit percentage. There is then some worksheets to help in the calculation of the purchases that are going to be required. And obviously purchases are going to be treated by a per product or per department basis. We're going to look at the markup in dollars or percentage. And the overall aim is to play with this to see how close you can come to the sales and gross profit that are going to be necessary to earn the targeted profit figure for the year. So I commend this worksheet to you as being very convenient to utilize, and it will assist you to have a conversation with your client as to the conception that's gone into establishing their charge out rates or their retail profit determinations for the product mix. Our recommendation is that once you've established this with a client, that you monitor it on a monthly basis just to see how the overhead expenses are going, how the productivity percentages are, how the productive hours are going, or according to the budget. And if there's variations, well, you'll need to talk to your client about doing some fine tuning so that hopefully by the end of the financial year, the business is able to achieve the profit target that has been listed. And I shouldn't have done that then. We'll just go back on to where we were. Sorry about that. I won't be a moment. Okay, so that's the budget overview. And I now want to move on to another product just to show you. You do have in the system the Business Advisory Services Introduction. There's 9 modules which you can utilize. And there's the modules listed there. As a subscriber, I hope you've already been through this, but if you haven't, can you please take your team through the introduction packages? Now's probably a great time. I assume all of your tax returns or virtually all your tax returns are finished. You're probably not going to be as busy for the next 6 or 7 weeks. It's a great time to be making sure that your team has been trained in how to use this product. So that's a list of what's in the training package. Hopefully you're able to use that. The Business Evaluation Workshop is a product that has been prepared to give you a comparison to a form we call Survival in Difficult Times. And it seems to me that around Australia there's always somewhere either a geographical location or individual types of businesses that are having difficult times. This form was prepared, let's go to the beginning, to give you a range of questions to be asking your clients. So there's some instructions, there's an index, and there's 44 different items contained here. You could send this as a link to your client and ask them to start answering the questions. I'll click on to banks and lenders. There's some questions there. But then we've got this related documents. So if you click on that, and it is taking you to an article in a separate item, separate process that we produced, where there's a bit more information. So you could read that or suggest your client reads that. It does give some further information, in this case, to what banks might be looking for. We're talking about financial stress testing, debt review. And when you finish that, we're able to go back to where we were. So we're back into the documentation. So there's a range of questions, and what it's trying to contribute is that people will have a good think about their business. And in many cases, there will be work assignments for you follow from this. And obviously, you'd be charging your client for the time that you're spending with them undertaking this exercise. There's a range of questions. I've now gone to business strategies. There's cash flow forecasts, cash flow budgets. There's forms on customers. There's forms on debtors' days outstanding, including a calculation so clients can understand how to compare their debtors' days outstanding. There's area on exporters and so on. So hopefully that helps. And, I would have thought most firms should be able to take at least 10 clients through this process each year. It would be at least a day. I think by the time you finish, the fee would be in the vicinity of $5,000. So there's $50,000 worth of fees. You sit down and talk to the clients and sell them on the concept that this is a great way to review their business. And incidentally, they don't have to be in difficulties. That's just a title we gave to it, probably to make it a bit more dramatic. The next area I want to move to is business health checks. Now, there are business health checks for 5 separate types of businesses. To give you a quick overview, I'm just going to click on pharmacies. So there's details there. We'll download the content. There's a procedure control form. There's links to some other documentation. But in the first instance, we're going to look at the data required. So this is the link you would send to your clients. They could start preparing the material. And I probably clicked onto the wrong form then, so I'll just go back. I'll just get this right form in a moment. And there's a final report format that you might use to send the report to the client. And this is the form that I was really looking for. This gives you first of all, instructions as to what the information is that you're seeking. So please sit down and have a good look at this. And then we got the workbook. So this is a form that, and obviously I'm looking at a pharmacy. So the number of days in the period, number of days, time couldn't work, and we've given some reasons there. Customer or patient information. Where they're from, which postcodes, what sources of inquiries were recorded. So this package does require the client to be keeping some records. So you'd make this form available to the client early in the year if they haven't participated before. Start them from July 1 so they start keeping the information so they can get some real feedback. We want to know number of complaints, suggestions, number of returns of products, how many phantom customer reports they got. We then want sales dissected into various components and then for what it relates to. And the end result of all this is you're going to get some very detailed information on this business, more detailed than what you would from a benchmarking.com.au report. Looks at gross profits of the various components, looks at the working principles and employees, so that you can get some meaningful information, which once you start a client on this process, should be able to be compared 1 year to the next. And if you had a group of clients in the same industry for other pharmacies, you could do some real benchmarking comparisons. So that's the form where you complete the data, or the client supplies you the data. And then I'm just going to flick through now to the 501, which is the final report. So the report will then produce information like sales increased or decreased by whatever percentage from the previous month, the daily sales, sales per FTE person, and so on. So it's gone through and done these various calculations that you can then use to be supplying real services to your clients. And what you will then find is that your knowledge of the pharmacy industry will be significantly increased. You're not just producing a profit and loss account and a balance sheet for your client, you are then evaluating that information. This is the type of work that you would probably do if you were employed as a full-time accountant or chief financial officer for a client that owned one or more pharmacies. So our suggestion is you implement this for your clients. This is probably a $10,000 assignment for a client, including sitting down at the end of the process and utilizing those reports that I showed you the pro formas for before. Because this is where you are really analyzing the information. And especially once you've created this for a couple of years and being able to then show some real comparisons this year as compared to last year, as compared to the year before, it will become a very valuable tool to be utilized with your clients. So hopefully that's given you a better idea of what is in the system. We've got business planning. There's a whole range of material on business plans. That you can utilize, including correspondence, with various government instrumentalities. There's material on buying a business. Cash flow management is looking primarily at stock, work in progress, debtors days outstanding, stock turn type areas. We've got crowdsource funding, equity raising. You have a video as you just saw. Now the crowdsource funding material is based on the legislation that was introduced last year that became operational from January this year. This is on the premise that the proprietary limited company has converted to be an unlisted public company. As you're probably aware, the Parliament is currently debating amendments to that legislation which will enable a private company to then have a category of shareholders called crowdsource funding shareholders. When that legislation receives the royal assent, we will then be updating this material so that we will have a whole series then on the issues that confront a private company raising capital as a crowdsource funding company. I would really commend to you that you become an expert in this particular area. Some industry observers believe there is going to be tremendous uptake by Australian companies wanting to raise crowdsource funding equity. Obviously, the amount of money they raise will depend on the appetite that the market has for investing in these sort of companies. But most of these clients that might want to raise capital as crowdsource funding companies are currently clients of smaller accounting firms. Therefore, I believe that you should be putting your hand up and waving it very firmly to your clients that you are able to assist them to, in effect, get crowdsource funding investment ready. So that's going to entail business plans, budgets, cash flow forecasts, the client having an understanding of how the crowdsource funding intermediary system works and what their requirements are. And then that will flow into corporate governance, because they need at least 2 directors in the new company status. I think they should have more, perhaps 4 or 5 directors. There's a lot of work going to be involved. Don't miss out on that, please. So let's move on. The next one I want to refer to is Chief Financial Officer Services. There's a video, a webinar, and we'll just download the content, and we will go to the procedure control form. This is the biggest single product within ESS BIZTOOLS. This is a very big subject, because what is Chief Financial Officer Services can cover a lot of areas. And we've got all these sections. First of all, you've got the quotation and proposal, then what we're calling a preamble, and then a whole range of material once we get started, covering key components within the business that you're undertaking. Now, this is not all going to apply to one client, I don't think. It will be a very unique client. But when we're writing material like this, we've got to cover a wide range of possibilities. So that's why we've got all of this material within the system. All you need to utilize, of course, is what applies to a particular client. But we've included this material to prompt you to think about it and to say, okay, should we be having that sort of conversation with the client? Is this something that we should be raising with them as part of our duties if we're offering a Chief Financial Officer service? I've estimated that the fees from Chief Financial Officer services would be at least in the vicinity of $25,000. We do have one client who is charging $125,000 per annum to offer a Chief Financial Officer service for a client. So there's a lot of material here, and please try to use it. Talk to your clients about offering a CFO service to give them the equivalent of an in-house presence of an accountant. We've got the debtors management training. You've got videos again, and you've got a webinar, and you've got content which will assist you to undertake a review of your client's debtors system to get them shipshape, to try to help them to improve the promptness of the turnout of their tax invoices in the first place, and then the turnout of statements if they still issue statements, or the following up of debtors. But in the first instance, we've concentrated a lot on getting the basics right, getting the systems right, making sure we got the proper details of who the new customer is, making sure that there's been a terms of sale agreement submitted and a retention of title agreement, and that the new customer has signed those and returned them to you, so that your client can then be making a decision whether this particular customer should be registered on the Personal Property Securities Register. Now, there are strict timelines, for this documentation to be lodged with the Personal Property Securities Register. So this system will help your clients to hopefully do that right. The next area I want to talk to you about is early stage innovation companies. Obviously, Essex were the first of the new regime, so we have material to assist you to get a better understanding of how it all works. Which you can click onto. That was the organisational material. Somehow or other we've moved off early stage innovation. I'll just go back to there. And I just want to show you the ESS ESSIC calculator, because I had someone recently say to me they didn't know we had that in the system. It's a spreadsheet which will assist you to undertake the review. So you start by inserting your company name. It's going through the first test looking at expenditure and income and whether date of incorporation, etc., to see whether they're under the 3 years or 6 years. So the system goes through and looks at that and whether they've been registered on the Australian Business Register in the last 3 years. And then we go into the gateway test and we look at the key questions, the research and development as a percentage of total expenses, whether they've ever participated in the Accelerating Commercialisation Grant, whether they've been in an accelerator program, and we've got to create a file on all this, or you have if you're working with your client. And then we're looking at any paid up capital they've got at present, especially if it's over $50,000 from arm's length investors. They can earn points for that. So we're working through, hopefully, to help them accumulate their 100 points, looking at patents and plant breeders' rights and so on. And then you can click through, and if they miss out on all that, if the result is under 100, they then move into the principles test. And the principles test is asking 5 key questions that they have to give a detailed response to. It's not a yes, no answer type product. So that's hopefully alerted to you to what's in the early stage innovation companies. I'm just checking the area to do with questions again. We've got no questions. Hopefully that means I'm answering all your questions. There's strategic business mentoring. This is where you're sitting down talking to a client after a one-on-one meeting to identify the type of work that you might be going to undertake. And it's looking at some more advanced services like executive director type services, assisting the CEO or general manager to achieve the business's vision, looking at company secretary duties, mentoring the CEO. So that type of work that many of your clients are going to be looking for, especially the clients who have turnovers of over $2.5 million. Many of them could be interested in that type of work. We have product on succession planning that you might want to use. And we also have separate mentoring sessions that you can subscribe for if you wish. And I think the information is actually contained further down, but you can buy mentoring sessions in 1 hour blocks for up to 12 hours if you wish, or a longer period if you want to talk to us about it. So that's the summary of the material within the package for the new website. We trust that you will be able to find material and utilize it. If you have any questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to contact us. If you require more information on a particular package, all that you need do is to go to the Learn More segment on that package, which is contained within the promotional area for prospects. So if you go back to there and click on Learn More, you receive videos and webinars and a whole range of material. And in that one there, I clicked on budgets and cash flows. We've gone through and analyzed what's included in those preset budget forms that we've prepared for retail trades and the professions, and then made some notes on the various calculators and talked about the templates that are included. If you are not a gold subscriber, so a silver, bronze, or any of the individual product subscribers, you can subscribe separately for any of the product packages that you haven't got. So obviously gold's got everything. Silver's got all of our packages except the subscription to ESS BizGrants, which we'll be undertaking this type of review on in a month's time, and the right to publish on your website in a secure area. That's the other real benefit that gold subscribers have got. But if you're a bronze subscriber or an individual package subscriber and you would like to now subscribe to Crowdsource Funding or Early Stage Innovation Company, you can subscribe for an individual package that suits your requirements. I'm just going to check once more on the questions. I haven't got any questions. I really hope that that means I've answered any question that you had. So thank you very much for your support of ESS BizTools, and thank you for participating or subsequently viewing this webinar, because we have recorded it, and it will be available in a couple of days' time. We will be sending an email to those who logged on for this webinar today to tell you where the link is to find the recording if you wish to play something back or run your team through it. And obviously we will be making that information available to our other subscribers as well. This is probably going to be the last opportunity I get to talk to our subscribers prior to the 30th of June 2018. Have a fantastic end of financial year, and I trust that 2018-19 will be very successful to you and your colleagues in your business. Have a great day. Goodbye.